What's up, everybody? It's Danny Green here, back with more Inside the Green Room. My guy, Harrison Sanford. We are just now back from New York, where I got a chance to see my old teammate, Ben Simmons. We will discuss him later with Howard Beck, Sports Illustrated's finest. Just was on his podcast a couple weeks ago. But yeah, before that, we get a chance to talk to Harrison, see what's up with him. H, tell us what's good, man. What's going on in your world?
Nothing much, man. Just watching way too much sports. The World Cup has started now, so my schedule is ridiculously busy, but I am looking forward to the holidays getting started here. Hopefully I snag up a couple Black Friday deals. And if I don't, hopefully Cyber Monday will help me out. Looking forward to having a festive holiday season, my friend. And speaking of which, before we get to the old basketball stuff and all that nonsense, I have two questions for you.
Okay.
And I promise to judge you on your answers.
Of course.
Right.
You can do that anyway. But busy's good. 1, 2, go ahead, ask your question. Let's see what you got.
All right. So Thanksgiving hits Thursday. When does Danny Green put up the Christmas tree?
Well, so I said busy is good. 2 for me was I'm glad that you're back home and be able to celebrate the holidays with your family.
Yes, I am.
Now to answer your question, Christmas tree, somebody asked me this a little while ago too. It's been a while since I put one up because I've been moving so much. I've been moving so much, man. Last year I lived in an apartment. We didn't have a lot of space and we were traveling on the road.
You had enough space for a Christmas tree, bro. I was at your place last year. You had enough space for a Christmas tree.
For a small one in the apartment, we had a small space for a small tree, which would have been taking up a lot of space for no reason. It would have been there for who knows how long. My thing is, I don't put a tree up unless I'm able to put gifts under it. So if I have a family, I don't have any kids yet, it's just me and wifey. We can put a small tree up if we're in a house. We were in a house last year. But if I'm with the family or if I'm back home, then we put a tree up. I haven't put a tree up since I lived in San Antonio pretty much because I was there and family would come visit. And it was a big enough house where I could have space to put ornaments, decorations. We do put some decorations up. We'll put a little sock up here or there. But if I had to say when I did put the Christmas tree up, usually around the 1st or 2nd week of December.
When you put up the Christmas tree in your house in San Antonio, how did that make you feel? Did you feel festive about the season?
I did, man. I'm a big Christmas light. I like Christmas lights. I'm a big Christmas lights guy. I like, the houses with all the lights on them. I never made my house that crazy about them, but I would always try to put up lights on my house in San Antonio. But since then, we moved so much. We were renting homes. We didn't decorate in Toronto. We didn't in LA. We're renting a home. There's no snow. It doesn't get cold. And I don't know if we were on the road or not, but we didn't decorate too much there either. In the house we did, but on the outside of the house. So yeah, we haven't really been as festive since we left San Antonio. So maybe this year we might be able to in Memphis. We are in a home now. We have some space. We could put up a tree, no gifts under it. But as always, when we moved to a city, we went to Philly after the bubble and we were there in December. We just moved there. We weren't even in a house. We were in a hotel. So we didn't have a place to put a Christmas tree. So it was always on the go, on the move, and it was no real time to celebrate or be festive. We're still getting settled here into Memphis. Once we get settled, hopefully it'll be before Christmas, we can then decorate. If we're here for a couple of years, guess what? Now it's home. We can make it homey. We have family visit. We can put up Christmas lights. But until that happens, when you're in this league and this business, man, there's no real time for as much festive as you would like to be.
There's always time to be in the holiday spirit, bro. And
I'll wear a Christmas sweater.
No.
Go to somebody else's house, eat some dinner, Christmas sweater, team event.
No. As a single man who's about to put up a Christmas tree in his 1-bedroom apartment, please put up the Christmas tree, bro.
We all know why you're putting the Christmas tree up. You're trying to make it seem like you look good to the company you bring in the house. This isn't for you. I don't know who you're fooling. You're not fooling me, buddy. I have one in my house, so I don't need to impress anybody else. I'm good. So yes, but for you, I will think about it and consider it, and I'll try to organize and get settled sooner so I can put a Christmas tree up for when you visit. And maybe we'll leave it up longer because we know you're not coming here that soon. Maybe you are, but it's going to take you a while to get to Memphis. But yeah, usually when I put up Christmas ornaments or decorations, it stays up way longer than it should.
I can't be in the holiday spirit by myself.
Absolutely not. We know your ulterior motives here, buddy. Not fooling me, guy.
I will put up the Christmas tree and I'll have no visitors for the month of December just to prove a point.
We'll
Okay,
see.
question. Okay, secondary question. And one of my friends did this and I ridiculed her and I still do because she still has her Christmas tree up from last year. So now it is a permanent stay within her apartment at this point. Like I told her, like, you got to take it down at some point, and then it got till about June and it was still up. And so now it's just a part of the apartment in general.
It's like the curtains. It's like the decor now. So it's never leaving. And she doesn't have to redecorate again. Maybe she'll take it down after this Christmas, but she let that thing stay and go strong. Maybe everybody likes it so much that was it a real tree or was it a fake one?
It's a fake one. It's a fake one. All
Okay.
right. So for those who need, not that you're not the most festive guy because you're not putting up a tree. But
I'm very festive. Just don't have the time for it.
Okay. When, according to Danny Green, when is too late to have the Christmas tree up? When does it have to go down?
Before I would say before Valentine's Day, before the next holiday. New Year's is kind of the next holiday, but you can have it up after that. But before it gets starting, for sure, before it gets warmer. And I wouldn't say February is still cold, but like I feel like going into March, April.
I mean, that's already pushing it.
That's too late. I'm saying like I'll give you to like the month of January. It gives you 2 months at max. By February, it should be down.
When do we're just dedicating the whole segment to the holidays now. Okay. When can you start listening to Christmas carols? When can that be on the playlist?
I want to say mid-December.
Okay.
December 15th-ish, 10 days beforehand.
Speaking of mid-December, my birthday is December 13th. Jed, the homie, part of the podcast crew, his birthday is December 10th. As our birthday gift, Danny, I want, and I'm doing this on a request of Jed too.
Okay.
On either December 10th or December 13th, when you're in the locker room with the Memphis Grizzlies, I want you to steal the aux cord and turn on Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Don't ask nobody. Don't give them a heads up. Just pull the old man in the locker room move, the vet move. Give me the phone. Well, give me the Bluetooth. I'm putting something on, and please record that moment. Because if they can't get down with Mariah Carey in December over NBA YoungBoy, you got a ways to go with your squad, my friend.
Look, so the tough part about this is a lot of my teammates are very supportive and they watch our podcast. So they now know what's going to happen on December 13th.
Damn.
And it's funny though. It is funny because, as the last one released, it's interesting to me. It lets me know how old I am when people have no idea that I can dance. So when the last clip came out of me dancing, they're, oh, you getting it? And back in the day when you're a rookie, I was like, yeah, it's a whole college thing. People at this time in the day and age or this era has no idea of my college days of when I danced or when I was rookie and danced. And half of them don't even know I can dance because I've been hurt for the last year, not 6-7 months. And it's been a while since I've done any type of dancing, except for weddings, unless you're at weddings. But it just lets me know how old I am, but also shows how supportive our group is and how much they listen and tune in and watch our podcast. But they're going to watch this one. They're going to know now when I play it on December 13th, they're going to be like, oh, we know who put you up to. They're going to know exactly where this is coming from. And they might get down with it. They're a festive crew, so we'll see. But I will, for you and Amjad, for the birthdays, I will play Mariah Carey on closer day to Christmas, since yours is closer to Christmas, on the 13th, on the aux cord in the locker room.
But you specifically have to do it when they're already listening to something else. Like you have, you can't.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I'm never on the aux anyway. They're gonna be bumping YoungBoy, they're gonna be bumping Doll for Gotti or Yo, and I'm gonna just take the phone and then plug in Mariah Carey, and we're gonna be listening to. I'll do it. I'm gonna see the reaction. I'll video record it. I'll have Trip, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's great at getting the content and getting the videos of people's reaction, and I'll have him video record, or have one of the trainers video record their reaction, and we will put it on the pod of what the Hopefully everybody will be clothed, but we'll put it on the pod of their reaction of
Please do it when everybody is clothed. But if they don't get, in the words of Will Smith, if they don't get jiggy with it, then there's no hope for the squad, man. If you can't bang with Mariah Carey in December, we got problems. Nothing. That's it. No response.
Did
I phrase that wrong?
No. Oh. I think you can bump Mariah Carey, but yes, during Christmas.
Yeah.
If you can't bump Mariah Carey. So if they can't bump Mariah Carey, you're saying something is wrong, is what you're saying.
Yeah. If they are opposed to Mariah Carey in the month of December, particularly in that last 2 weeks, of December, then you got to wait.
They might have some other Christmas songs. They could be festive in other ways. So I understand that. But yes, they got to be able to be open-minded and be able to bump that. But I don't know if they will. We will see. This reaction is going to be gold. But I would like to think that most of them would not be happy that Mariah Carey is on the tunes.
Can't wait for it. That should be fun. Speaking of the Grizzlies, Howard Beck of Sports Illustrated has his impressions so far of the Grizzlies, and we wanted to discuss Ben Simmons, who Danny just saw on Sunday night. We do that in our next segment right here on Inside the Green Room. Be right back. Back like we left our car keys, Harrison, Sanford, Danny Green. This is Inside the Green Room, and we are happy to welcome in Howard Beck of Sports Illustrated. Howard went to the Memphis Grizzlies Brooklyn Nets game at the Barclays Center on Sunday night. We'll discuss what he thought of Ben Simmons' mini resurgence that he's having here. But he was also able to go to the game for free. And, if Taylor Swift decided to perform at Barclays Center, who knows, Danny, how much money people would pay to go see her. We're seeing tickets going for $20,000, $10,000. So before we get all to the nitty gritty basketball stuff, Howard, I'm asking you, if you had some money in your bank, a lot more than maybe what you have now, who would you be willing to shell out some dollars for to see? It could be an artist. It could be a game that you want to go back in time and see. Just where would you want to be for a moment and pay good money to be there?
That was with the accent. It could be anybody alive or dead, correct?
Anything, any moment in an arena that you would want to pay good money to go see. Because they know Howard and I, Danny, and you, Danny, too, we usually go to arenas for free. Yeah. Or at least when it's an athletic event.
Mm-hmm. First of all, thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you all.
Same.
I love the fact that the premise of this question actually isn't just about resources. It's also about the ability to time travel. So if you're first of all furnishing me with like $20,000 to go see anything, and I get Doc's DeLorean from Back to the Future, this is phenomenal. I love this. So let me start here. Actually, me, my wife and daughter, we did see Taylor Swift on her, I think it was the last tour she did in 2018 at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. A rough experience because it poured on us for like 3 straight hours, but a very cool experience because Taylor Swift and her crew just they were on point through every minute of the show, regardless. It didn't matter how hard it was raining. They didn't miss a beat. They were phenomenal. Props to Taylor Swift and her whole production, because those were tough circumstances. It was not a pleasant night out at MetLife Stadium, and even harder getting out of MetLife Stadium and getting back to Brooklyn that night. But that's a whole other saga. I don't remember what we paid that night. I don't think it was $20,000 per ticket. I'm pretty sure my daughter's college fund would be gone. We were hoping to go back. We were hoping to see her on this tour, but the whole Ticketmaster snafu last week screwed us along with everybody else. So I don't think we're seeing her this time. The most I actually have ever spent on tickets, I think, was I spent $650 for a pair. So what is that? $275 each? $375? What I can't add right now. So out of it. $325 each. I cannot add. $325 each for us to see. Thanks, Jed. For us to see Genesis at the Garden last year. Obviously Genesis, big progressive rock band from the 80s. And it was going to be their last ever tour. So I was happy to be able to see them one last time. So that was cool. If I could spend any amount of money and bring my favorite band back because they broke up 11 years ago, it would be to see REM. If I could go back in time, it would I'd go back to see REM like in Athens, Georgia, when they first started and were just like a cool college band. So that would be something. And if I'm going to move this to the sports realm, I'm going all the way back to 1982 so I can see Joe Montana hit Dwight Clark with the catch, which is a seminal moment in my sports life. So,
wow. Very good call. Very good choices. Call. Yeah. Danny, mine is a Super Bowl 1 too, but I'll let you go.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Howard, thanks again for joining us, man. It's always good to see you. Long time, old friend. Haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks, but it's good to have you. For me, this is a very tough question. Well, actually, it's not too tough because there's not one game. There's so many games. But if I have to choose an artist for one, I would love to see Michael Jackson perform live. I was a big Michael Jackson fan when I was younger. I seen his DVDs of how the concerts were, people passing out and fainting. And of course, his music still lives on today as one of the top, he's the king of pop, or whatever you want to call him. He's the king of a lot of things. But if it came down to sports, I would love to travel back in time and actually see, of course, Michael Jordan play. I just don't know which finals I would like to see him play in. Might have been the Seattle Sonics finals, or
why?
That's just one I remember as a kid vividly, remembering that one and one of the Utah finals. So yeah, those probably, it's hard to pick one game, but I would love to see Mike live and in the finals and one of those finals games. I can't pick any particular one just right now, but would love to be at one of those games.
If you pick the Jazz one, it would have to be Game 6 in Salt Lake City, right?
The 98,
yeah.
Oh, not the flu game. The push, the quote unquote push off over Byron Russell. That has to be the one.
Was he not sick that game?
That wasn't the flu game, was it?
No. Okay, so
bro,
I'm mistaken. So yes, that one and the flu game.
Okay, fair enough.
That's a good call. Any Michael Jordan game, I think, is a good call. And I only got to see 2 live myself. My first year covering the Lakers in 97, 98 was, of course, Michael's last season with the Bulls. So the only times I saw him play live were the 2 times he played against Kobe and the Lakers that season. So, and I was working, right? So it's not quite the same as going as a fan. On the other hand, back then, we got pretty good seats in the media. So I was like sitting courtside baseline and got an up-close view. So that was pretty
cool.
Yeah.
Leisure, what's your game?
I assume, Danny, you wanted to go back to that Sonics Bulls series because you wanted to see Gary Payton guard Michael Jordan, but
I was a GP fan as well.
George Karl didn't decide to do that till Game 4 till it was too late. So
I was a big GP fan, a big Sean Kemp fan, but that series I remember as a child, as a kid watching it and remember how intense it kind of was. But of course, I was a big Mike fan. But any one of those games that you can choose from, he was in the finals, won 6 times. There's a lot of games, and even games outside of finals you can choose from. We're waiting to hear your pick now of sports and artist.
There's no artist. I know, Danny, you're going to be upset at me. I don't have an artist that Howard, I'm weird like that. I don't have an artist that I routinely listen to or desire to go see.
Nobody you grew up on that you watched when you were younger?
There's no singular artist that's going to make me pay money to go see them. I will go see a compilation. I will go on behalf of a friend or a date. I will never send my own money just to go by myself. I'm sorry. But
we just created like a $20,000 pot and time travel. Like you're not even having to really spend the money.
It's just, I don't know, Howard. I think I blame people like you, Howard. I don't really listen to music too much. I listen to podcasts. So that's it. Like I listen to music when I go out and I have adult beverages, but I for whatever reason, I just don't have the desire to go see people perform music live. It's crazy.
Wait, when you were growing up, you didn't have like one act, one band, one artist, whatever, that you just like, you had to go get their album every time they had something new come out. There was nobody like, oh, this song comes on the radio, this is the one I'm turning up.
I change favorite artists like I change clothes. Every day was something different.
G-Unit, Dipset, Nas.
No.
Making artists?
No. Oh, I'll go to a festival where a grouping of all of my quote unquote favorite artists are performing, but I won't go to see one singular act. I know.
Interesting.
Different strokes for
And the
different
sports one?
Yeah, in sports, okay, I got two. I would go back and I would go back to the David Tyree helmet catch when they beat the Patriots, the undefeated Patriots. I'm a Giants fan. That was that was amazing to have to see. I was in college at the time. I think I had a little house party to watch that game. A great time. The only other place I'd rather be is in the stadium. And then number two, and it has nothing to do with a team winning a championship, but I could vividly remember the moment in my childhood. So I would like to be in the arena for it, when Larry Johnson hit the 4-point play and he threw up the L. That was it for me. I remember it like it was yesterday. So those would be my two.
You mean the fake continuation? That one?
Yeah. Hey. Yes. That play. It was quite the time. I remember it like it was yesterday. With that being said, there are going to be some people who are going to pay good money on Tuesday to see Ben Simmons play at the Wells Fargo Center as he's finally in uniform going against his former team. We'll talk about Danny's experiences with Ben Simmons while he was in Philadelphia in just a moment. But Howard, you're in New York. You get to see the Brooklyn Nets pretty often. How would you evaluate Ben Simmons' tenure as a Brooklyn Net so far this season?
Well, it's interesting. Danny and I, of course, talked about this on my podcast, The Crossover, a few weeks back. And at that time, you guys had just played them for the first time. And I was wondering, Danny, you're seeing him up close. What are you seeing? And I felt like, it was a pretty accurate assessment at that moment from Danny. And I think from others around the league, what we were seeing early on was Ben Simmons just wasn't aggressive. He didn't look comfortable. And whether that was physical, mental, emotional, situational, playing with Kyrie and Kevin Durant, whatever it was, year and a half of rust, something just felt off. And I think a lot of people started to wonder, understandably, like, okay, is this just who he's going to be now? Can he find that other guy again? Is the all NBA version of Ben Simmons still there? And I don't, up until like the last several days, that was like an open question. Lately, especially the game against your Grizzlies, Danny, suddenly Ben Simmons is looking pretty damn good and a lot more like himself. And it's not just that the numbers are there, right? You can look at the box score and say, oh yeah, he's, scored 20 plus points and, flirting with triple doubles or, whatever. It's that he's actually trying to score. He's going hard to the hoop again. He's being aggressive. And I don't know, like when he was asked after the game Sunday night about what is starting to feel more comfortable, he was pretty vague about it. So I don't know, maybe he doesn't even know, or maybe he just doesn't want to talk about it. But again, is it because physically he feels better? Is it because he's just settled in and started to feel comfortable in a new environment? Now, the Sixers were his only team in his career up until this, and he didn't play last season at all with the Nets. He was here in Brooklyn, but he wasn't playing. So it's great to see. And I will say this too, just as a final point on this, he just seemed relaxed, even like joking with the media when they were saying, so Ben, Tuesday night. And he's like, what's something special about Tuesday? Like he's comfortable enough to kind of like have some fun with it, which I think is a really good sign of just like, he's fine. He's fine. He's ready to go do this. And where I was skeptical last season about the whole Ben Simmons, it's important for him to go, even though he's going to be in street clothes. It kind of actually, I think now helps. Like he was already there. He got heckled that night. I was at that game. He got heckled that night by fans who were just, yelling stuff to him during the game, but even pregame because he was rebounding for Patty Mills and they were just, shoot it, Ben, shoot it, all this. And so now like there's nothing can possibly shock him when they go to Philly now, but he does have to perform and every eye will be on him at all times.
I would pay good money to see that game too. That ticket, I would definitely want to go see that game. I agree with everything Howard has had to say. I think it's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be. I honestly, if you would have told me last year that Ben's I didn't think he'd ever play in Philly again. Like even as an opposing, I thought there'd be routes where he would take to not play there or be hurt or injured or take a rest day. So I was shocked to even show up and be in street clothes. And also, this game coming up, even though he's playing more comfortably And the Sixers are shorthanded, so that kind of gives them a little bit more leverage. With Joel being out, I don't know if Joel's going to play that game or not. I know Tyrese is out for a little while. James is out for a little bit. So they have a lot of guys out right now. But I'd still pay top dollar to see that game. It'd be interesting. But he is looking more comfortable. He is a lot more assertive. And he's looking more like himself. And maybe he said his back is maybe feeling a lot better than what it was. But I think he's got more encouragement and he's got more confident from his teammates, from KD and in that system. So I'm sure he's building off that. I mean, as a player, as a competitor, as a fan, everybody wants to see guys like that do okay or do well. You never want to see a player kind of be shattered by something, something small. Well, to us, it may seem small, but mental health is a big thing. And you never want to see anybody kind of deteriorate because of that when they have all the potential in the world and have all the talent in the world to be something special. So to see him back to himself, I think a lot of people are happy about that. The league, really needs it and wants it and want all their players healthy and playing their best. So that's a good thing. But I don't think Philly's happy about it. So we will see how it goes when he gets there. I know that they had a lot of frustrations with him, and they're going to show it. But I think it's a game to where I wouldn't say it's to his advantage where then he's not playing a full force team in Philly. I know Joel would love to be out there on that floor. Who knows what kind of game that would be or battle that would be if he had a matchup with Ben or a mismatch or a cross match. So James is not playing. Tyrese is there. I don't know what Tobias is going to be, if he's going to be playing or not. They've had some guys in and out. But yeah, this is going to be the best intro he could have coming into Philly, the best game that he could probably play against that team.
Yeah, for sure. I almost tweeted out, and but I definitely feel for sure, all the people, especially the Philadelphia 76ers fans who got their jokes off on Ben Simmons for must have been a year and a half. All like the internet humor about Ben Simmons, it's gonna get shut down pretty quick if he's able to perform, if he continues to perform the way he is, because I think he fits in very well with the Brooklyn Nets as long as he actually gets the guys he could play with. Like I watched last night how excited he was dropping dimes to Seth Curry and Yuta Watanabe and Joe Harris. I think it fits him pretty well, Danny. And I think the era of making fun of Ben Simmons, I think, is going to come to an end here, because even with Brooklyn Nets, he's not asked to do as much as he was in Philadelphia from a scoring standpoint, at least. And I think it's good. It's an environment where he could be comfortable as a basketball player. Sure. And obviously there's still a lot of other stuff going on, but I don't think, even if Ben acclimated better with the Philadelphia fans, I don't think he was ever going to feel comfortable as a basketball player in Philadelphia because of just the way the offense is and how Joel is such a big presence in the offense and Ben Simmons' skill set. It was a very difficult thing for him, I would imagine, to try and find his freedom or his comfortability on the team. And with that being said, Danny, you mentioned how the Philadelphia fans treated Ben Simmons. If we can pull back the curtain a little bit, can you tell me, in the height of the Ben Simmons catastrophe, and I'll label it as a catastrophe, how things kind of ended there, what were your emotions or feelings towards Ben Simmons?
Well, back to your point, let's start with that first. Before I get into that, I do think that the making fun of Ben will be quiet. I don't know if it ever come to an end, especially in Philly. I think any chance they get, nobody's ever perfect. People are going to make mistakes. People are going to have bad games. And any chance that they get when he does have those mishaps or those games, they're going to be on him. And to be fair, Philly is like that with everybody, not just with Ben, but everybody that comes through that building or plays in that building or plays for that team, they hold you to a standard. And they're going to heckle you. They're going to criticize you. They're going to boo you when you're not playing well or performing. But when you're doing well, they're going to love you. And they're going to show you, if you're working hard and doing the blue collar work, they're going to embrace you. But in the height of it, I said, knowing that, because I said I was my first year playing with Ben, he's one of the main reasons why I came back and re-signed with Philly. I had a great performance the year prior, and I re-signed with them thinking that I had a career high in 3-point attempts, if I'm not mistaken. I was getting a lot of good looks, shot it pretty well from the perimeter. I didn't have to be the main defender every night on the ball. I had him guarding the main guy, and me being a second primary defender, and we could switch off type of situation. So I enjoyed playing with him. And when he made his decision to not play, I think it affected me as well as Tobias and some others the most. So it was very frustrating. I think the more frustrating part was the fact that we were kind of on the outs. He didn't really communicate with us as much of what was going on. And for us, we were just like, we're not a part of the front office. We're not a part of the guys that's trying to trade you. We're just your teammates. We're guys that we thought you considered brothers or friends and would still communicate with us. I think he felt he had to be a certain way toward us in order for himself to, keep that mindset to be traded or to, like, I guess, force his way out, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, there was a lot of frustration. There was a lot of miscommunication. And then at a point there was, a weird air of if we were even cool or friends or not. So we didn't know. Obviously at this point, we're both not in Philly. We speak, we say hello, and we're fine. And I said, I think he's in a better mental space. So I didn't know what he was going through during that time. We try to support him as much as we can. But when somebody doesn't accept your support or doesn't reach out or communicate or even acknowledge when you reach out to them, it gets very frustrating. So yes, during that time, it was frustrating, not just as a on a personal level, but also on the court. It was tough, not playing with him, not having him there on the court, in the locker room, on the defensive end of the floor, rebounding and offensive end to be able to facilitate the offense, but also not be able to speak to him. When you see him, he's kind of in his own zone or own world, and we didn't see him that often. So, and you hear all the stuff in the media and everybody saying this, that, and other, and, this is a selfish act, but, we tried to be there as much as we could, support him mentally, and we didn't know exactly what he was going through, but it was frustrating just not be able to get that same or any type of communication back.
And Howard, you could jump in here too whenever you feel like it. I wonder, Danny, was he right for wanting to get out of, in light of what the role that now he gets to play in Brooklyn versus what he had to do in Philadelphia, or the expectations for him in Philadelphia? Did he do the right thing, holding out, not playing, X, Y, and all those things?
I mean, I'm not here to judge or say anybody's right or wrong for wanting out of somewhere and being somewhere else. You're not happy, whether it's on the court or off the court, mentally or physically. I just think there's a way of going about it. And I think the way he went about it, I think a lot of people can agree it wasn't the best way. I wouldn't say right or wrong. I think there's just other routes. And I think he probably would think that as well. She probably would agree, maybe not, but I would think he would agree there was a better way of approaching certain things, or a better way of handling or trying to professionally, do something on a different level. And sometimes you may have to force your hand and do something differently. I don't know. Said I wasn't in those talks. I wasn't in the internal communication of the front office and his agent. So yeah, maybe that's the way he felt he needed to. But I think a lot of people, in my opinion, I think would agree that he could have handled it differently. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I just think there are better ways to do things.
I also wonder here too, Howard, from a standpoint of covering Ben Simmons and him throwing out him using or explaining that mental health was a part of the reason of why he couldn't return to Philadelphia. How did you handle that as a journalist? How do you think teams have handled that with Ben Simmons, and maybe some of the ramifications that might come up now in the CBA when that is time to be discussed?
Yeah, and the CBA is being discussed, almost literally as we speak. And I don't know what new wrinkles or protections or considerations will end up in the new CBA. I mean, from the league standpoint, from the player standpoint, it's obvious. The union is going to want that players to be supported, protected. And if there's a mental health issue, it should be handled a certain way, professionally, privately, all the things that a union would want to advocate for. But from a league standpoint, if you think about a variety of situations over the last couple of years, and I feel a little queasy about throwing Ben Simmons into this because of the mental health aspect, but teams are concerned, and I think the league is concerned about the number of different ways in which guys have been paid not to play over the last several years. That could be the John Wall situation, which was, I guess, sort of mutual. There could be the Ben Simmons situation. It could be Kyrie and refusing to be vaccinated, and so he wasn't playing. There are various other versions of this, but and then you could throw load management into this as well. And how long should you have to come back from an injury? And when you do come back, how often should you be playing? I mean, you can think of any players that might fit these descriptions. Like there's a lot of different versions of this. And I'm not saying right or wrong. You asked, how is it going to factor into the CBA as part of your question? I think the league side of this is going to be, listen, we need to be protected. We're paying guys a lot of money to perform. Fans are paying a lot of money for tickets. Maybe not $20,000 Taylor Swift level, but they're paying a lot of money for tickets to come see their favorite players. And if they're not there, and possibly for not an entire season, well, it doesn't look good for the league. It doesn't look good for the way that you provide for the fan base. It's a problem broadly. In terms of like the way, I think we had to handle it from a media side. Look, I try to start from a standpoint of, if a guy has, mental health concerns, everybody needs to respect that, of course. I think the difficulty in the Ben Simmons case, which is different than some other ones that we've seen in sports, is that it was very opaque. We really didn't know what was going on. And the order of events was made it more complicated to immediately go to a place of like, oh, okay, well, we should all just understand and have sympathy, because the way it unfolded was, sorry to bring back bad memories, Danny, but you guys lose in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Ben passes up the shot under the hoop, passes up an open dunk, basically. Ben gets kind of criticized by Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers. Ben feels like he's, seemingly been betrayed, whatever. And then months later, there's a trade demand, and the trade demand does not end up in an actual trade. And then camp starts. And now it's a question of, is he showing up? And he is showing up. Now he's going to practice, whatever. And somewhere in the midst of all that, and I don't have the whole timeline in front of me, but somewhere in the midst of all that, it was, oh, no, he's got some mental health concerns. Or they didn't even say mental health. I think the way it was framed, and it was all, of course, anonymous sources at that time, I think it was not mentally ready to play. And listen, we live in cynical times in a cynical world, and I work in a cynical business. When someone said, I'm just not mentally ready to play, but this is like months after a trade demand that wasn't fulfilled, it kind of sounds like you just don't want to play because you didn't get traded and you wanted to be traded, and you're bitter at the organization. That's what it sounds like. And so it's not that I don't believe that he had legitimate mental health concerns under, just broadly speaking, but we don't know anything about what's really happening as media or as fans in this case. And because of the way that this unfolded, I just think it was difficult. So I don't think we should be too hard on ourselves as the public when we don't really know enough to give them the benefit of the doubt. And if somebody's going to come back and say, well, as soon as someone says mental health, you immediately should give them benefit of the doubt. Yes, in my personal life, I absolutely would do that. Probably in my professional life with people I know really well, I would do that. But that's not the reality of the sports world. And I understand, like, this is part of the issue we all deal with, that we've spent, decades of this hyper macho culture that we all need to adjust. But when contractual issues are already in play, when team dynamics are already in play, and then the mental health thing comes in afterward, it does sound like, again, we live in cynical times, it does sound like that was being deployed for strategic purposes. And again, I do not ever want to be dismissive of somebody's real mental health issues, and I'm not saying Ben Simmons didn't have them. The way this unfolded fed into a natural cynicism that we all have. All that said, what we have heard since then, and I do want to make sure to note this, when Ben Simmons was on JJ Redick's podcast a couple of months ago, and maybe some other times he's talked since then, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was mostly on JJ's podcast. It seemed very clear to me that, he was going through some stuff. And maybe the team stuff also fed into that. And maybe all of that combined to make him feel like, not only can I not play here and need to be traded, but I can't play here at all, even while waiting for a trade. I don't know how to assess that. None of us are psychiatrists, I don't think. But it's hard. And so you want to give, you want to be gracious about it. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, in the world of sports, it can be very cutthroat, the way that negotiations happen, the way trades are forced, a lot of other stuff. So it all gets a little bit cloudy, I think, as a result. That's my honest answer.
Yeah, for sure. The Ben Simmons, the saga that surrounded him is definitely, as you alluded to, how it can be hard to kind of cover because there are so many different layers to it, and you want to be sensitive to a number of issues. I think the general public will be disappointed when Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons don't go head to head on Tuesday night. But there were some moments that they did go head to head in practice. Danny, do you remember the vibe from Joel when this whole thing took place with Ben Simmons last year? Do you have any candid memories of talking to Joel or watching Joel during this
For
period?
sure. I mean, Joel usually stays to himself. Most time he does. He's still, even during that time, he's very quiet. He kind of does his own thing. He doesn't try to, like mess with, talking to the front office, or we need to trade, do we need to do this? So he says anyway, but I know they inform him what's going on in decisions. From my understanding, he doesn't like to be in those making decision type of conversations. So he heard about it. We all tried to rally together to try to bring him back. We tried on a couple of occasions. At a certain point, I think most of us kind of gave up on it, and we're frustrated. I'm sure he was frustrated. And then he came into camp and practice. I know there was a moment, or there was for sure one moment where we were going through a drill, and there was a switch that happened where Ben was guarding him in the post, and I had the ball actually. I don't know if I spoke about this. I don't know if it.
No, I purposely asked you because I wanted to hear the story on.
And I had an opportunity to give Joel the ball against Ben, and for the sake of keeping the energy well, I swung the ball across the floor away from that matchup, because I don't know what because Joel's known to have some chippy plays in him, as you've seen throughout his career. He's not the one to back down anything or to hide his feelings or emotions. And I know there was probably some frustration with him, and who knows how it would have came out during that play. But I thought it was smarter and safer for us as a group to try to keep, if we were trying to bring him back, to move the ball to the other side of the floor. But had I thrown that ball into Joel and Ben and Joel had matched up, I really wish I would, at this point now, wish I had thrown the ball in and to see.
Thank you. You should have.
But I didn't. I didn't. And yep, we missed out on a moment. But we live and we learn, man. I thought I was doing something good for the team, which it might have been something good for the team. But I thought Ben was kind of coming around, turning the corner, and maybe feeding into the vibe of being around us again and wanting to be in a locker room and kind of change his mind. But he didn't. And, things went a totally different route after that.
I want to get
that, keeping the peace,
I'm supposed to be the glue guy here, Howard. So I'm trying to keep everything, part of my job, not only to just, do my role on the court, but in the locker room, and try to be the glue, try to police and keep everybody together on the same page and everything cordial. And as that type of glue guy leader of keeping things cordial, I didn't think it was smart to have that matchup go down in practice where there's no cameras around.
All right. So did Joel say anything afterward, though? Like, did Joel say, "Hey, how come you didn't throw it to me in the post when I could have dunked on Ben"?
He said something, but we will not discuss what he said. He said something. Fair. He said something. I'm not going to say that whether or not he wanted the ball really badly, or if he didn't want the ball, or if he thought I made the smart play or the right play, or if I made a dumb play. But he did say something.
He wanted the ball. I will say, Danny, as a member,
when does Joel not want the ball? Joel always wants the ball, mind you. But in this particular situation, I'm sure people can assume whether or not if he wanted the ball or not, and how badly he wanted the ball. So,
all right, last question before I get Howard's impressions on the Memphis Grizzlies, your current team. Okay. Was that actually a cell phone in his sweatpants?
I believe so. I think it was. I mean, he came in. He wasn't really interested. So mentally, he wasn't interested in being there. I suppose he had a conversation with Doc. We had spoke to Doc before. Doc was trying to figure out how he wanted to integrate him into the practice and into the lineup. And he wanted to protect us and be safe. We thought that was smart. Take it step by step, see where his energy was. We allow him to take the floor and speak if he wants to speak. If he has nothing to say, cool. His energy was he really didn't have much to say. He went about his business, and when he could jump in toward the end or in certain rotational defensive drills, he did, but you could tell he kind of didn't want to. He wasn't mentally there. He had his sweats on. He had his phone in his pocket. I don't know if he had any jewelry on or long sleeve, but I don't know if this is his normal, usual practice gear. Even though he does practice with usually more like slimmer fit clothing, probably tighter, maybe tighter sweats or shorts. But usually doesn't have a phone in his pocket. So, that I think alluded to that, he wasn't going to jump in practice. When he did jump in, I think a lot of us were shocked. But it was a brief jump in and be a part of the drill for half a second, and then he got out. The media just so happened to be there to catch the one small clip of it. But yeah, he did that. I think that for a couple of days, and I think the third day is when he got thrown out of practice because he no longer want to jump into the drill.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that will probably after Tuesday. I think the energy around Ben will probably be over. Obviously, we'll still be waiting for the Joel Embiid Ben Simmons matchup whenever that takes place, and
if it ever does.
I just hope that Tobias Harris or Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton, whoever's handling the ball, if there's a cross match in the post, and Ben Simmons is guarding Joel, please give Joel the ball. That's all. That's all we want. What else we want to have, I'm sure maybe you wanted it on Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening rather yet, was the Memphis Grizzlies to be in full tilt. I for one am waiting to see them at full tilt as well, obviously with Danny there as well. But I'm sure you've watched them throughout the course of the season. Where do you think they stack up in the West, and what have been your impressions so far of how they've played in this season?
Yeah, how much am I going to have to spend and how much time travel do I have to do to actually see John Morant play live? Because I don't think I've seen him play yet because he's only been in the league a couple of years. We had COVID, everything else, right? Like, so I'm pretty sure I have not seen a John Morant game live yet. So,
bad luck, man. Bad luck. I think it's just bad luck. It seems like he's played for a good amount of games. He just seems to be injured, I think, the times that you're around, which is.
Yeah, it's just the timing, right? But also, I mean, listen, the one thing I worry about for your young teammate there, Danny, is like he does play a breakneck style, right? He is fearless. He goes in among the trees. He finishes at all kinds of crazy angles. He's like one of those guys. It's like early Iverson or early Dwayne Wade, where he's just always on the floor. He's always getting back up. Always looks like he just like might have snapped his ankle. Nope, he's fine. He's dunking over guys again 5 minutes later, right? But that I'm sure that shit takes a toll, and so. But he's awesome. He's one of my favorite guys to watch play. And I think you guys I haven't like gone like roster by roster, but it's gotta be the best young core in the league if we're like weighing both talent and age under wherever you want to make the cutoff in the mid-20s.
Under 25.
Yeah. Like it's a phenomenal team. And that front office has done a great job putting it together. When you were on my pod, Danny, I said this outright. I think I was candid about this, frank about this, that I thought the Grizzlies might have overachieved a little bit last season for a young team that won that many games, made that big of a leap. And I worried about a little bit of regression this season. The interesting thing is, I think the Grizzlies have regressed a little bit in a couple of areas. But because the West is just so strange this season. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want, like, I guess parity is the word for it, but like I was just noting this earlier. The Warriors, I think they've fallen to 8 and 10 while we've been discussing this or been on this pod, but they were 8 and 9 at the time that put them like 3.5 out of first. like they're like 2 games out of 6th or whatever. Like that's how tight things are. No one has distinguished themselves. No one's running away with this thing. I don't think the Suns scare anybody right now, though they're very good. The Mavericks are fine. The Nuggets are good, but not quite as good as we thought they'd be. The Clippers are not as good as we thought they'd be. Kawhi Leonard's barely playing. Paul George is now hurt. The Warriors are all screwed up. It's anybody's race right now in the West. So that's the good news. Grizzlies being this, I was looking this up earlier. The Grizzlies are only 13th in 3-point percentage, which kind of shocked me, and only 11th in 3-point makes. Like that's you're on the top tier, but like as great a 3-point shooting as you guys have, I would have thought the Grizzlies actually rank a little higher in both 3-pointers and accuracy. 12th in offensive efficiency. That's down from 4th last season. 22nd in defense, down from 6th last season. So the defense, statistically, at least in the early part of the season here, has not been quite as stout. Maybe getting healthy will help that. Getting Jaren Jackson Jr. back out there on a regular basis will help that. So there's nothing that would alarm me. And then the only other thing that stood out, 4-6 against teams that are 500 or better right now for you guys. And so that's an interesting one. Like the most of the wins have come against the lower ranked teams. So we'll see. Like I think the Grizzlies definitely took some teams by surprise last season and just played their asses off. And you can, as Danny will attest, you can win a lot of games just by playing harder than another team, even if they are more talented or more experienced, because nobody wants to give it 150% every night in the middle of January. But you can't do that 2-3 seasons in a row. Like, so that'll catch up.
I agree, Howard. I think that because I said they did so well last year, I think it'd be very hard to reciprocate that or to match that or to do however you want to put it, to even exceed that. I don't think that I think it'd be too hard. But when I look at the West, like you said, I thought the Clippers would be a little bit better. I thought Denver would be a little better. Portland is doing well. Utah is doing well. So nobody's scared of Phoenix. And with the injuries that we do have, a lot of those numbers you put out there because of Jaren being out, Desmond Bane being out some, Ja being out some, I think that we as a group have a really good shot to do the same, if not better than last year. Because of that young core, the group that we have, the 3-point percentage, I think once Jaren comes back, when I get a chance to get healthy, I think we'll get a chance to get some more threes up and hopefully at a better clip, at a better percentage. But it's because the West is so weird and the league is so weird, but especially the West, that they have a really good opportunity. We have a really good opportunity to exceed that or even match what we did what they did last year. So yeah, I agree on all parts of those, but it's going to be interesting. We'll see who stays healthy. We'll see who gets back healthier faster. We'll see who changes what, who makes some adjustments in terms of whether it's fast break defense or 3-point percentage. But I think once we get healthy, I think we're going to be a pretty good, I'm going to say target. We already have a target on the back from last year. People are listening, but we're going to be a pretty good ball club and going to be, I would say, in the top, not say leading the race, but we'll be in the front of the race when things get back to normal.
Yep. I'm looking forward to whenever that happens, whenever the team does get back to normal. And if you look throughout the league too, guys, there are just a number of teams with a litany of injury, just a very weird start to the season from that aspect for sure. So we'll see how it pans out. Obviously, Zaire Williams will be a part of the team as well. So I think you have a chance there. But Howard, my main concern with the Grizzlies, and maybe we'll go one big picture question. Can they actually, in your opinion, win the whole thing? And as much as I want Danny to win another one, I don't know if they have the typical isolation two-way wing that could seal the deal within this year. Obviously, you were talking about the Kawhi Leonard types, the Giannis types, the Jason Tatum types. And I think not having that when the game slows down, obviously the Grizzlies score very well and fast in transition and up-tempo offense. When the game slows down, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think they have that guy. And I think the absence of that guy is going to be critical to them potentially pulling it off.
I think that's fair. I think if Ja keeps shooting 39% from 3, that could help matters because he's already unguardable off the dribble. And now if you got to give him room to shoot, I mean, you do have to give him room to hopefully cut off his driving lanes. And now if you're giving him space and he's going to be drilling 3-pointers at close to 40%, suddenly he's truly, truly unguardable, right? But yeah, he's a smaller player. It's not, one of these apex predator wings, as folks like to say with, Kevin Durant, Kawhi, LeBron. But, the Warriors won a couple of championships without Kevin Durant, and, Steph is a smaller player by NBA standards who has done amazing things. And he's a different kind of guard than Ja. Their games are dramatically different. Their makeups are dramatically different. but you know, in this era of the NBA, you don't necessarily have to have size. You just need one surefire way to create space and an open shot, a good shot. And maybe it's for somebody else. And when you got so many great shooters around you, as Ja does, hopefully Danny Green being back among them sometime soon, then that's a good plan, right? But you're right. Like you want the one guy who just can manufacture something out of thin air. And I think that, like, if I look at the West right now, because things are as goofy as they are, it'll settle down, right? And I'm curious to see if Portland sustains this. I'm curious to see if Utah sustains this. I'm curious to see if the Warriors find themselves or fix their bench because they could vault right back into it. I'm curious to see if the Clippers stay healthy long enough to be as good as we all thought they were going to be. But as uncertain as all that is right now, yeah, the Grizzlies could make a deep run, could go to the conference finals, could maybe even get to the finals. As a young team, I still kind of hold back a little bit. That's the general rule that you know is in play in the NBA. Youth doesn't often win, but if they end up in the finals against the Celtics or Bucks, they're going to be underdogs. Like that's a weird thing to like declare here in November when June is so far off, and 1,000 things will happen between now and then. But if we're projecting forward, the Grizzlies against the Bucks or Celtics are the underdog. There's no question. Some of that's experience, some of that size at key positions. I don't envy Danny and his friends trying to deal with Jalen and Jason and Marcus all at the same time. Or if it's the Bucks, a healthy Chris Middleton and Giannis, those are going to be tough assignments. But you know, we're talking way far ahead here. But like I do think there's a scenario where the Grizzlies could get there this season. My general view would be like, they're young, let's give them a little time.
Yep, for sure. Somebody who would like to get back into the winner's circle, but the team has not looked the same for about the past 2 years or so. Anthony Davis, he has looks like he's kind of turned back the clock here. Danny, what are your takes on this rejuvenation that we've seen from Anthony Davis over the past couple of weeks or so?
Yeah, he's looking
let's say the past week.
Past week or so, yeah, last three or four games or so. He's starting to look more like himself. He's more active. He's being a leader out there, and that's what he needs to do, especially with Bron being out. Russ still coming off the bench. I think they're finally finding their rhythm. But this is what AD is very capable of, and that's what they brought him in there to do. You know, that's what they brought him there. You know, he's. I think the big part of it is that it looks like he's moving better, health-wise. His body seems to be okay and holding up. Once he's getting that and he's finding his rhythm and finding his shot, I'm sure he's been in the gym and focused on the small details. I heard from a close friend of mine that I work with here and there, my guy Lethal. So yeah, I think a lot of those things help build confidence, help build rhythm, and his strength and health seem to be fine. And you know that them as a group are kind of coming together and they have nothing to lose right now. They're getting Thomas Bryant back, Dennis Schroeder, so that helps a little bit too. But this is that's what he needs to do in order for them to be able to win games during this regular season. With Bron being out, AD's gonna have to be a monster, and he's very capable of doing it. It's just, you know, night in, night out, he has to come with that same mentality, and I think his whole mentality has changed.
Yeah, it's nice to see him come back to somewhat of what he used to be. And for the record, Danny, anybody who's affiliated with Lethal Shooter on the internet, at least, is destined to have a bad shooting season, even though the stats would be contrary to that. But that's another story for another day. That's what the internet says. But the internet says a lot of things. Before we get out of here, we got Thanksgiving coming up, guys. I just want you to give the listeners one thing, or I'd rather get two things that you're thankful for. It could be basketball related, sports related, and obviously if you want to expound past that, you can. But what would you be sports related? What would you be thankful for, Mr. Beck?
That the NBA is so great at producing drama. I mean, where would I be without it, right? I covered Shaq and Kobe for 7 years. I've been covering the league for 25. This is my 26th season. Like, where would I be? You know, what would we all be talking about on podcasts, and what would I be writing about if the NBA wasn't so incredible at just producing an endless string of drama, personality conflicts, grudges, rivalries, and a lot of great basketball along the way too, for sure. That is also part of the drama. But no, this league, and this season in particular has not always been good drama. It's been a lot of like kind of troubling stuff in the early parts of the season, going all the way back actually even into preseason with the Robert Sarver stuff and everything. But so it's not always a good kind of drama. Don't want to be too glib about it, but there is never a shortage in this league of things to discuss, analyze, break down. So I am thankful for that, because it makes my job interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. It would have been, you would have had quite the story there if you got the inside scoop on when Danny threw the ball to Joel Embiid with Ben Simmons guarding him, but he didn't do it again. All right, Danny, what do you think? Danny, what are you thankful for, my friend?
Oh man, there's two things, basketball, sports wise, there's two main things that I'm thankful for, and that's the Myers Institute of Sport and the Memphis Grizzlies. Give me the opportunity to rehab with them and get my knee. Obviously, Memphis believing in me, give me an opportunity to play for this team, and knowing and thinking that I can get back this year. But Myers Institute of Sport, my guy Sean Johns, my physical therapist, who has put my knee and body in a very good place to be on a path to coming back earlier than most people expected this year. And of course, the Memphis Grizzlies, Mike Rongrati, is my guy. He's my go-to one-on-one guy that I work with every day with the Memphis Grizzlies, and who's helping me rehab right now during this time. And he's a big reason why my knee is in a really good spot. So hopefully you'll be seeing me sooner than later on the court because of those two people, those two groups of people that I just mentioned, in particular, Sean Johnson and Mike Rongrati, who have been my PTs during this time and trying to get me back at a target date, which is maybe before All-Star. So we'll see.
Hey, when they're done with you, tell them to come work on my Achilles, please.
Yeah, I know you need some help.
And
you, H, what are you thankful for, man? Sports wise, right?
I'm thankful. I've been living in Los Angeles for the past 3 years. I'm actually living in New York again, my hometown, for the first time in a very long time, and I'm actually going to be able to spend the holidays with my family for the first time in a very long time. So that is something I'm very thankful for, and I'm thankful that I'll also be. I also have leftovers to take home as well after the festivities are over, because your boy doesn't like to cook, or doesn't have enough time to cook rather yet. So that's pretty much it for me.
Oh, your job has put you in a good position to be home. That's a great thing, man. I'm glad you're home with the family. We're all thankful for our family and friends. We haven't forgotten about you. We were just talking sports business wise of what we do, but yes, we're thankful for our family and friends. We hope all you guys have a great holiday. Those are tuning in, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. And we're thankful for all you guys that are listening as well.
I think, Danny, I think all we have to say, and we're also thankful for Howard, and we could say goodbye.
We are thankful for
Thankful
Howard.
for you guys having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yes, and the World Cup, it seems. We have the World Cup going on, so you got to be thankful for all the other sports that are going on.
Yes, I actually, as much as I'm looking forward to the World Cup, it's actually too much sports going on right now. I can't. It's nonstop. It's not good. It's not good for the dating life, Danny. It's not.
I hear you, but when it's dry in the summertime, there's no sports on. You're waiting for basketball to come back. You're gonna be complaining, man. So be thankful we got everything we have right now.
All right. Well, that's once again. Thank you to Howard Beck of Sports Illustrated. That's Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'll be back next week to discuss some more things around the association and things going on off the court as well. See you guys next time. Enjoy the holiday. Save us a plate.